Of the Parks Commission, starting with my right,
Roger Hibbs.
Rhonda Ankney.
Keith Cecil, with our roll call. And then we have a new board or a board member here. We'd like to, I'm sorry, pledge. It will rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay.
All right, and we'll move to our first order of new business with the swearing in of our reappointed board member.
Thank you. Do you want me to just go ahead and read it, or does she go ahead and read it since she's the only one?
No, we read it.
Oh, my bad.
And she repeats it.
Okay. I'll pull it up real quick. Sorry about that. My bad.
She's got it there, Keith could read it.
I've got it right here.
Yeah, or you can swear in.
Or yeah, that way, either way.
Okay, if you could repeat after me. I state your name,
I, Rhonda Ankney,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will uphold the Constitution of the United States,
that I will uphold the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of the State of Indiana,
the Constitution of the State of Indiana,
and that I will faithfully and impartially perform my duties
and I will faithfully and impartially perform my duties
as a member of the Parks Advisory Commission of the Town of Bargersville,
as a member of the Parks Advisory Commission of the Town of Bargersville,
Johnson County, Indiana, to the best of my ability, so help me God.
Johnson County, Indiana, to the best of my ability, so help me God. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, and we'll move to the election of officers. Do we have any nominations for these roles?
I'd like to make a motion that you remain on as president of the Parks Board. I think you've done a good job this year. I'd like to make a motion that you be nominated as president.
Any other nominations? So would we do that first and
We'll
then,
need a second, and then you'll have to make a motion.
I'll second.
and do we have a motion?
I made the motion
She
for
made it.
president.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry,
Yeah,
sorry.
yeah. All in favor of myself being president of the Parks Board?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, and the next order would be the vice president. Do we have any nominations for the role of vice president? Am I allowed
Yeah,
to make
you
up?
sure.
Okay, I would like to nominate Rhonda to remain on as vice president. She's done a tremendous amount of work for the Parks Commission, and I agree that consistency would be great. Any other nominations?
For that, I second.
All right. And all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. You have to vote, right? Because I think you have to vote because we don't have a quorum.
I have a quorum. I need
Yeah.
the quorum.
Yeah.
And I agree, yes.
Okay, okay. Just making sure.
Feels a little odd for me, but okay.
Yeah,
You can vote for yourself.
yeah, you can. Okay. All right, the Parks Master Plan update. I know that they have had a chance to meet, and it looks like Julie is ready to prepare
I'd love to
some
speak.
wonderful comments.
If you will allow me.
That'd be amazing.
Okay. So the master plan committee did meet They will be meeting again later this month. So earlier, a couple weeks, or a week ago, they met, they reviewed the public comment that was received. So the farmers market data, the survey data, the stakeholder interviews, all of that. Some interesting things came out of that. Some things I think we were already planning were confirmed by the resident input in terms of what we anticipated folks were wanting to see in our parks. So I think that's a good sign. I think we're on the right track in some ways. So we'll be continuing those conversations and hopefully have a plan for the full board to look at and have some interesting discussions on where the board's going to move forward.
What's the timeline on finishing that up? Is there one set yet, or?
I don't know that we have a hard deadline
Okay.
on that project. We can certainly encourage the consultant if there's a specific date you would like to see that. But that steering committee is going to meet again in February, I believe, to kind of, we've been challenged with some questions on where we'd like to see the parks go and kind of some policy type questions. So the group will come back together and try to come up with some guidelines on that. So
Okay.
I'm interested to see the results of that discussion.
Okay, great. Well, thanks for the update.
Yeah, so, and we will make sure that everyone on the Parks Board receives that kind of like comment data and the survey results, just so that you can see what we're hearing from our residents.
Yeah, absolutely. Awesome. Thank you.
Yep.
So the 2022 landscaping and maintenance requests for quotes. Bethany, I'm not thinking that's a you
Yep.
item there.
Yep, just a quick update.
Yes.
It's sent out to 7 different companies for response. I've received emails back from 3 stating that they would be responding.
To both or one or?
I don't have that information.
Gotcha.
They will be submitting a response with their pricing. So we've got at least 3 that will be coming back. But like I said, there were 7 that were initially sent out.
And you sent it about a week ago, is that right? Or
Yeah, at this point, it's been about a week and a half. I sent those out on the 6th.
are you able to comment on any of the ones that have sent anything back yet? No,
I mean,
I'm seeing
they
no.
haven't actually responded with their pricing. They
Okay.
just said that they would be submitting pricing for it.
Okay, that's fair. Just curious.
You have to wait.
Suspense.
You have to wait until the bids come back
That's fair.
to know who's going
Right.
to respond.
Right. Yeah, it doesn't matter until, yeah. Okay, moving along into the facilities at Kepp Park. We had a pretty good discussion the other day with the subcommittee that was kind of working on Kepp Park, and in one of the questions is, what are some of the things that should be included? And so we were wondering, based on the responses from the master plan update and some of that data, I'm wondering, Mr. Hitz, if you were part of that, or Julie, what were some of the items that were towards the top of the list of things to be included in, what folks would like to see as far as plans go, for for the community. You know, what are we lacking? What are people wanting to see? You know, is it still trails kind of top of the list, or were there other items?
I remember some of the items, I don't remember the order.
Okay.
I'm looking at it right here to make sure that I'm getting the survey data and not the, I'll say, benchmark or the,
Right, the general stuff, yeah.
demographic type data.
And also Keith, just so you know, I've pulled up the most recent layout that has been provided for us for Kepp Park behind you on the monitor. So,
Ah, great. So this is the most up-to-date.
That's for phase 1 and 2.
Yes. It's really just Kepp Park. I don't really think anyone's talking about what phase it is at this point. I haven't heard that word brought up in a long time.
No, I actually just had a meeting with the consultant on another project, and we were talking about still whether or not this is just gonna be bid as a project.
So it's still kind of up in the air. That's why we haven't heard much on that.
Yeah, so that's why we haven't been referring to what you see in phases, because we're trying to
Figure that out.
confirm with our financial person if we can just go ahead and fund this as one phase and just move forward.
Yeah.
That would be our preference.
Absolutely.
So we're gonna hear an update at the next council meeting from him on that question.
Excellent.
So.
Were you able to?
Yeah, in terms of, we asked on the survey, we basically asked folks and said, you have some funding and you decide how you want to spend it. So the average paved trails and natural trails were the top two. Amphitheaters, outdoor swimming pools and water parks, and playgrounds round out your top.
Well, it sounds like we've,
That's why I said
on
it
paper,
kind of,
have ticked some of those
it kind of
boxes for us.
confirmed
Kepp Park.
what we're trying to do and some of these things. So, they received roughly 20 choices were listed, and 3 items didn't receive any.
Really?
Yeah, and those were outdoor basketball, indoor sports field, and small neighborhood parks.
Okay.
So we either are,
We're meeting that or
or it's not their top priority.
Okay.
it's good to know.
So sometimes it's good to look at the top and
Sure.
Yeah.
the highest and the lowest.
So based on that, it looks like we've got a lot of those items in here, especially when you factor in, the trail, the paved playground, the aquatic area, for the splash pad. Which, if you're not familiar with a splash pad, that is an item that, where there's water, but there's not really like a pool of water. It's more or less just water that's being emitted, where you can kind of get wet, I think it's pretty self-explanatory, but, there's not a pool, I guess, which is a different term you would use for a water area, or a water play area.
I think the pickleball courts are a source of excitement for a lot of people in the area too.
I think so, and so that is actually number 7 on the list from the residents. So hopefully that coincides with what we're doing as well.
Absolutely.
I know that there was a council member that wanted to have a basketball court at Kepp Park. How do you feel about that, having heard this response from the survey?
I mean, if the survey, it sounds like no one that took the survey is interested in having another basketball court. I mean, we have Switzer Park, who I think, that park offers a nice option for a basketball court. A lot of the playgrounds in the area have, the school playgrounds or whatever, they have basketball. So I don't feel like there's shortage for places to play that we would want to take up valuable space in Kepp Park for a basketball court. You guys?
I basically agree with Rhonda that right now, I don't think we need it. Maybe 5 years down the road, we may. But like I said, we got Switzer. And there's more other things that people are wanting that we don't have any of.
Right.
And so,
And
as far as, no, but
yes, go ahead with your comment.
I was
and
just
I'll
gonna say, as far as adding anything else, I think that this is a good representation of what do you all think? I mean, I can see some minor things, but, as far as any additions or things like that, is there anything else that we're not seeing on here, I guess is my question. I think at this point would be a good time to make that call.
I think for now, for the first phase, whatever you call it, but later on, 2-3 years down the road, then we can develop more. So
Yeah.
add more to it and get the nature trail going.
Yeah.
But this is a good start.
And we have green space available there that if
Yeah.
there is a need that comes up, that we can consider our open area for anything else that we might need to add.
And like I said, we leave the rest of it green right now. Little league, soccer kids.
Yeah.
Kids, even football kids need a place to practice.
I mean, I'm gonna bring this up just 'cause I feel like it's something that the community could, if I'm gonna evolve this at all, the one thing I really feel like could be added at this point could be potentially a dog park. I feel like a lot of folks in this community have pets. We don't really offer that much here, I don't think, for folks to be able to have. And it seems to me like this could be a place right here where you could do that without really impeding on the play of, with the kids, and you can kind of almost separate the two. You could park here and we could have an entrance there. I don't know how you all feel about that. I know there's some, some challenges with that,
We
but
talked about that master plan.
okay.
It kind of felt like it wasn't room for a good dog park, because like Austin said, for a good dog park, you have to have it with movable fences, otherwise you'll have a mud park.
Okay.
And because, they try to find another location somewhere else where a dog park might be better. That's the way.
Were dog parks on that list at all?
So under the top unmet need, and we had 221 people answer this question. There were 29 that said dog parks.
Okay.
Is that the way you understood it? From
Yeah, so when Austin, when he kind of talked about that, to do the dog park well, we want to make sure that we're not just destroying the grass surface. And so I won't confess to knowing all the ins and outs to that, but making sure that we have enough space and we can adequately offer that.
Also space to consider for large dogs versus small dogs
Yeah.
and different things.
And is natural grass the surface that's commonly used for a dog park? You don't know?
That's one of the, but if that's the choice, then we need to make sure that we have adequate space and that we're not going to end up with a mud park.
What do you say, some have rocks and I forget,
Yeah.
rocks and mulch or the mulch or
Rocks and
something?
sand or something like that.
Sand, yeah, sand.
Okay.
So, one thing to consider is, and I know that we're all really excited about Kepp Park and getting that going, but, we are going to need to have other park facilities.
Yeah.
So this doesn't need to have everything in one spot.
That's fair.
So, hopefully that will be
Say
something that
something for the other part?
that we can all work towards, is figuring out where those best locations are for those other items.
Sure.
Yeah.
That's fair.
Anything else with Kepp Park? Okay. Brick paver sales, moving along into that's our next item. Feel like, Rhonda, you've been shepherding our brick paver.
I
movement.
don't have a lot going on with that right now. I think this may be better tabled till maybe springtime or when the farmer's market can be fired up. If we want to do anything before, I think we've mentioned before, maybe one of those little yard signs out there promoting the sale of the pavers and where to go to find out how to purchase it. Maybe just a link to the town's website or whatever we might need to do to make people aware of it. But I honestly feel like the farmer's market and any events that we may have in the meantime would be a good time. Folks are here, they can see the park, see what's available, and, I think it's much more effective if you can look at it and say, right, here's where your paver would go that you might purchase.
Mhm.
So, unless someone else has some ideas on what we could be doing in the meantime, I'm not aware of anything that we can be working on at this point.
I just have one, so one of the things we've talked about is making sure that we can do online payments.
Yes.
And so one of our staff members challenged them to come up with a way to do that for us.
Awesome.
And so they have a way for us to test that. And so I'd like for a couple of you to try that and see if it seems too cumbersome.
Okay.
Because I'm used to using those systems, so for me to test it is probably not the right
Right.
way to do that. So if you guys would be willing to do that and let us know.
I want to purchase one anyway, so I'll just try it.
This one's in our test environment, so it doesn't
Gives
actually.
me some
It's not gonna
practice too.
work. There you go.
when I'm ready.
So you can, pretend purchase as many as you want, and it doesn't connect to our financial system yet.
Very good.
So that we can still make changes
Great.
before we go live.
You want to send us a link and we should do
So
it that way?
I'll try to send you a link and
Okay.
see how we can do that, but I just wanted to mention that we've made
Yeah, that's important.
some progress, but I want to make sure that it makes sense to somebody who isn't using those all the time.
Absolutely. That's a great update.
Mhm.
Okay, good deal. We'll be ready to fill out the form, give you feedback. I like it. I would agree that would be, so we have everything teed up. So, if we make a movement, to re-promote these, then we're prepared to be able to handle that, those upcoming
Mhm.
sales, was like, if you put it out on social media, it'd be great to have like a link to, hey, you can just pay for renters. I feel like that's the modern, everybody just wants to do it right then.
And we want them to essentially fill out, all their contact info, but also what they want
What
on
they
the
want.
brick, so that they're filling that out, and then we just submit that to the company,
Yeah,
so that there can be hopefully less
error.
opportunity for error.
Yeah, perfect. I think that's a great step. Absolutely. That's exciting. Okay. Well, that sounds like a good game plan then.
Just along those lines, I think I sent out that the website had been tweaked. So I just wanted to make sure you all saw that, and if there were any other comments that go along with that, to let us know.
Sure.
I somehow missed that, but I will go back. Very good. Okay, and then anything else on the brick sales at this point?
Do you want me to look into having some signs printed? Or do you want to just wait till, March to do that?
Yeah, let's wait until, February, next month, we can discuss it again and kind of get an idea of what we might want to put out.
If we get this system up and going, we want to have that on there too. So.
Sure.
Put a
Okay,
QR
just wanted
code.
to
Yeah.
verify.
Yeah.
Very good.
Yeah. Anything else on that? Okay. The maintenance checklist schedule for 2022. So I know we've been operating off of, we've done it a few different ways, right? It seems that, there's some consistencies, but there's also some inconsistencies on it. What we did obviously this past year was, we would have each of us taking the Xth week of the month and completing the spreadsheet, sending that out to the group, and moving forward that way. We could certainly continue to do that. I feel like oftentimes those checklists are redundant, and I feel like there's a lot of, in filling out the form, there's many things that just don't, a simple email I think would work. You could use the checklist, but what are the actionable items within the scope of here's the things to check for, but I don't, as far as submitting an actual checklist, I don't know that we need to go through that step of doing that. That's just or at least I'm questioning what the group thinks of continuing to submit a weekly checklist is. What does everyone think about doing that?
I agree. A lot of it was redundant, I don't know how many times, nothing new to report. I think we do need to, as a board, put eyes on the parks on a regular basis.
Sure.
Whether, we just check when we go over or intentionally go, to check. But as far as, well, did someone report this week? That may not be necessary. Is it better to assign someone a month, say, all right, it's your month to check the park and, let everybody know if you see anything, or? How's it worked in the past, Roger? Have you had any different experiences?
Yeah, in the past, when I first came on the board, they all write checking it. And So I came on, we decided, yeah, we'll check it on Mondays, I'll check it on Thursdays. And the town decided that was checking it too much. So we went back and just, I was checking it every Sunday, or I mean, every Thursday. And last year we changed it.
To this, right? And so then, I guess there's kind of separate things for me that I'm wondering, is it, is it that we need to submit a checklist? Or is it that we need to be able to have a checklist to refer to when submitting actionable items? Does that make sense? So, would it suffice to have the checklist? But when we actually are, asking the feedback to occur to the group, would a simple, here are the things we need to consider on the checklist, or if there was nothing, then I don't personally foresee a need, or I guess I'm wondering what the need is to submit something if there really isn't anything to submit.
One thing with the checklist, like that, there's a record that each park has been checked every week.
Right? And what does that, I guess what I'm wondering is what does that do? What do we do with that record?
Well, nothing but, in a way, you'll correct me if I'm not wrong, but that's a little bit for liability. Okay, if it's been noted, stuff, that there's a hazard there, and somebody gets hurt, well, then it's our fault because we haven't fixed it. But if there's no record that it's there and it's people complaining it's been there, then we're liable for something that happens.
So it sounds like we're liable either way.
Yeah, if we don't get it fixed, but we
Right.
can get it fixed.
So is it the
I feel like
submission of the
liability is kinda tricky.
checklist that you feel is cumbersome? Or
I'm just questioning it more than anything. I'm questioning do we want to continue to do that? Or that's the first question that I had. Do we want to continue to submit the checklist every week like we've been doing? Or is simply just sending an email stating that I checked the park and here's what happened, or here are the actionable things. I noticed that there's some trees down, or or do we actually need to submit the actual checklist every time? I know, for example, and it's happened to me too. Sometimes, it's cumbersome to have to, get that spreadsheet and, take your notes. Whereas I could just, from my phone at the park, I could literally snap a couple shots and send an email right there if I had any issues to the group without having to submit the form. I wonder if that wouldn't be I don't know. What do you guys think? Would that work for being able to?
I would just say that it would, in my opinion, there needs to be some kind of a guidance so that you're all looking at the same thing.
Right.
When you go to the parks, because otherwise you may focus on one thing and Ron don't focus on something else, and Roger will focus, and then, it's just our human nature.
Sure.
So I think having some kind of a guideline, whether or not that's what you complete, I don't know that that's the issue, but
Right.
making sure that we're all looking at the same things when we go.
Right.
To me is but how it gets reported, I don't think is the critical issue.
Right. I agree with you 100%. That's good feedback, is that, having the list, and I wasn't saying that we should do away with the list whatsoever. I just mean actually submitting
Oh, okay.
the spreadsheet every month. That was my first question, was do we need to submit the checklist? And it sounds like we're not really keeping a record of the actual, I mean,
I keep I mean, whatever gets sent in as far as the spreadsheet goes, I do
okay,
keep those.
okay, so
Yeah,
we keep those.
keep
Okay,
any report that you guys send in on that gets filed.
okay, so maybe I'm dead wrong on that, then let's circle back then, and
I mean,
And
at
go
the
with the
same, at the
checklist.
same time, I can save emails. So I mean, it's, again, it's totally up to you guys whether you want to use that checklist as a guideline and then just email in your issues, or if you want to fill out the checklist every week.
Kelly, do you remember what's on the disclaimer? I was wondering if we did it just by email, if that disclaimer would have to be on the email also.
I think that you are probably correct on that.
Even though it's not visible, but if you click on the disclaimer, it'll pop up.
okay,
It's not my area of expertise,
okay, the disclaiming,
the disclaimers and all the.
Yeah.
Those,
So there's, just so you're aware, on the checklist, it says, see disclaimer on file in office for park board members and person completing inspection. I don't know that I've ever seen said disclaimer. Have I?
I know I have, I
Okay.
can't quote.
I have, because on the form, if you click on it, I don't know if I got a copy of it. Yeah. I do.
Quite a disclaimer.
Yeah, it's,
It's half a page.
yeah,
No, yeah,
Oh, here, yeah, it's
okay,
a third of a page, I was generous.
it's
It didn't pull up on this one that I've got up, so I'm not sure.
fairly significant.
okay. Well, I hope that that has made it through all of our submissions and resubmissions and is still stuck in there to that form.
It
I
is.
guess it doesn't. It is?
Mhm.
Okay,
I just noticed one thing that probably should be changed on it, though, Julie. We changed this from this one's the old park maintenance checklist. But we changed it to the parks, park maintenance. But, we changed it from the parks inspection checklist. And the disclaimer says, notice this parks inspection checklist is for information purposes only. So it didn't change it on the disclaimer when we changed it.
Yeah, I'll make a copy of that before we finish tonight.
Okay.
okay. Well, then, seems like we should probably stick with the maintenance checklist submission as scheduled, based on what I'm hearing. Is that what you guys are thinking as well?
Kind of sounds like it.
Okay, that's fair. So, what about as far as scheduling? Who's going to be doing that? I know Kelly's not here, unfortunately. So that would definitely we can certainly modify that. But I wonder if as a conceptual, if we can at least conceptually discuss how we want to do this. Do we need to submit it every week? Can we submit it every other week? The checklist, and then beyond that, do we want to split it up into months where, for example, like you proposed, Rhonda takes January and then so on and so forth. What do we feel about both of those items? Anybody have any feedback on that?
Well, one thing, doing every other week or something like that. When I first came on, I don't think they were doing it in the winter. But then when I did it, I started doing it in the winter as well, because something could happen over there.
Sure.
But in the spring and summer, it definitely has, spring, summer, and fall, it needs to be checked every week just for, especially liability for, something, a hazard or something.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I agree. I think that not all months are created equal.
My suggestion would be just leave it like it is. Well, I know we missed this past week, although I did look at them tonight, didn't do a thorough inspection, but just looked at them and I didn't see any nothing stuck out.
Sure.
But, I'll be willing until we get a new board member to fill in for Linda.
On, so if we continue, you would propose that we continue to do, you know, a first week, a second week, a third week, as opposed to.
Yeah, if we do it that way.
Right.
We can do it that way for a while, and later on, we want to change it, we can change it.
Switch it to monthly.
And I think we're due so a board member to take Linda's position, and then, so that'll give us 4 to rotate it among, and then you were
I think
taking the
fifth,
fifth week.
There's last,
Yeah.
Right.
this last,
And I did that. I don't mind to do that again.
Just
Just to
do the
look
same
at the
schedule.
schedule.
and then I'll fill in for Linda until we get a new one.
Okay. Does that work?
I'll stick with that.
Anybody apply?
Okay. Well, I can fill in for Linda, you know, as the fourth week until we end up getting somebody. I feel like that might be a little bit more fair. And that way, you know, because the fifth isn't something that happens a lot. So I can fill in on the fourth, be the fourth member, and then when we get someone new, they could take my spot. Is that fair?
Works for me.
It doesn't matter to me.
Okay. Well, just so I get we get 4. I think the concept is in that way we get 4 sets of fresh eyes on it, you know, every 4 weeks. Okay. Well, then we'll do that. I'll look at the calendar then and send something out to everyone that just kind of assigns somebody to each week, and we can stick with that same for a second, unless you guys would rather have a different week. You probably got it ingrained in your brain at this point.
That's why I was.
Yeah,
saying
I'll just
six-
update the dates.
six
Yeah.
of it. And then the updated dates might do it for 6 months, that way you don't, you know, then do another one in 6 months.
Doesn't take much time. It's better off just trying to do it all at
Do it
once.
all
But yeah. All right, we'll do that then. Anything else on the maintenance checklist? All right. Any other new business or items to discuss before we adjourn?
And
Minutes.
Got minutes and budget.
The minutes? The minutes. All right. Did we have a moment to review the meeting minutes that were?
approve it now.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anything on the budget?
No.
I didn't have any questions.
All right. Looks like the budget is in order. Anything else we should review? Do we have a motion to adjourn?
I make the motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, meeting adjourned.